Hi, I'm Dr. Zak Pischnotte, and I teach saxophone at Washburn, and I'll be playing the alto excerpts for the KMEA auditions. The last two are also for tenor and baritone. These first two excerpts are very slow, but I still recommend using a metronome as you're practicing them. When I was younger, I would usually just use a metronome if there was something difficult that I was working on that I needed to practice slow at first and then gradually build the tempo up. But I would neglect to use metronomes on slow tunes, and I would end up dragging a lot. So let's just check out this Colonial song. 50 beats per minute is where I tried to play it. Extremely slow. And so it might help you to add subdivisions. On another level, it might help you to even take away beats. So I will do this to hold myself more accountable for more beats. And so the metronome isn't giving me as much. It's not giving me every beat. So this is only every other beat. Then you can do the same sort of thing on the old castle, where have it only give you downbeats once you feel like you have the hang of this. And having like a strong sense of pulse on a slow tune like this can really help the forward motion of it. There still needs to be an element of that, even though it is very slow. It can't get sleepy. Another thing that I noticed about both of these is that there is some motion across the register change. And, you know, that's a big change in timbre a lot of the time on saxophone. And something that I've been working at for a very long time is trying to smooth out the timbre change between my C sharp and my D. And something that I actually have to do is adjust for pitch as well, because D is very sharp, and so is E flat on some horns, but D flat can be very flat, or C sharp. So I press my side C key while I'm playing D flat, and I do that on certain parts of the old castle. And also in Colonial song, I should point out, my C on this horn is pretty flat. So I push down, while I'm playing that note, I push down my side B flat key to bring the pitch up. And that just makes the difference between the sharp D and the flat C as being just less noticeable. So I'll just demonstrate how I do that in Colonial song real quick. And then in the old castle. See, I was toggling between both of those because I had a D flat and a C right next to each other. Just because we're playing by ourselves doesn't mean that we can get away with bad intonation. You need to play in tune with yourself. That is something that judges would surely be listening for. Another thing that you can do to work on that register change, aside from doing these manual fixes, is getting your jaw pressure dialed in so that you don't have any sort of extra pressure when you're getting across that register change. I remember when I was younger, I would have to drop my jaw to get from the mid register to like leaping down to the lower mid register. Like, let's change etudes actually. This is the 48 Studies by Ferling, number 3, the slow one. This is the 48 studies by Ferling, number 3, the slow one. Particular spot is in the 3rd line, at the very beginning of it, when you have F down to G sharp. See, I also had to adjust for pitch on my A with my normal fingering, actually press down my B flat key to bring the pitch up. All horns are going to be a little different, so you should check your horn with a tuner to see where it generally lays before figuring out alternate fingerings. And also feel free to reach out to me for questions about that. I'll have my email at the end of the video. But anyways, so some techniques that we can do to fix that little register change thing. I like to do scales in fifths integrated into my long tones. So very slowly, I'll go back and forth between my low C and my G until my breath is gone. And so on. And then I would do that on D, so going from D to A. And then skipping ahead, I'll go to G to D. So there shouldn't be any movement of the jaw. It would have sounded like this when I was in high school, probably. There would be some sort of pop or kind of a donkey noise of when I'm dropping my jaw to get down to the lower register. And so from going through those long tone exercises of fifths, that really helped me get my jaw pressure to the point where it was at the I guess the equilibrium spot where you don't have to adjust it. Another thing that I've found super helpful is doing overtones. So for every one of the lowest notes on the horn, B flat, B, C, and C sharp, we can play quite a bit more notes than just that by voicing them. So here's our low B flat. And then I will voice the B flat above that by keeping that same position and then just adjusting my throat to get the higher one to come out. Going back and forth between those is a really helpful tool to adjust your voicing so that you know where it should land based on what pitch you're playing. We can also hit the F above that. You've probably done this on accident. I know I did plenty of times before I started studying saxophone more seriously. So here's my low B flat, and then I'll go to the F that's on top of the staff. And I can also hit the B flat above that. And so an exercise that I do pretty much every day when I'm playing my horn is what I think of as an overtone pyramid. So I'll do low B flat, and then the octave above it, back to low B flat, F, low B flat, high B flat, and then back down, and then the F and the B flat again. And I'll have a PDF of this so that you can see what the exercise would look like on paper. But I'll do that on B flat, and then I'll also do it on B and C sharp as a warm-up. So this is what it would sound like. I'll do it on C this time. And typically I'm able to do that on one breath and like not adjusting my jaw. It's all happening in my throat. And I think of getting a mental snapshot of what my throat felt like when I was playing the overtone with the low fingering, and imagine that throat setting as I'm playing through an etude like this. Another consideration I saw in Chester especially, there's a lot of accents. And so the tendency can be to overcompensate by using too much tongue on the reed if we're just trying to get a lot of front on the sound, but it really needs to come from down here. So something we should try in slow motion is just playing this whole, the first two measures slurred and pulsing our air when we see an accent. Okay, and then in faster motion, but still with no tongue. And now with the tongue. All it is just extra emphasis. So we don't need to thwack the reed with our tongue, or I guess sometimes we'll also use too much tongue on the reed. I'm just tonguing it normally with the top of the tip of my tongue on the tip of the reed, and I just have more air pushing at the beginning of the note. So with just my air, it would sound like this. For those first two measures. Again, like 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, I'll play it again. 1, 2, 3, 4. And another consideration that we should look at on Molly on the Shore. Quite a bit of articulations going on, and I got through it on one breath, and I don't think I would have been able to do that when I was younger. So once again, doing those long tone exercises just for as long as your breath lasts is going to be really helpful with building up your air support. But we also might want to think about a spot to sneak in a breath. One of the reasons I didn't breathe on this, obviously it's a little easier to get through it, so it doesn't throw the time off if you are just playing straight through it, but also the way that the phrases lie. So our home base is B flat, and that is where all of the phrases end. They have the same thing. So C is not the end of the phrase. That is, the second scale degree, and it has this pull. Our ear is hearing it or our ear wants it to go down to the B flat because it's just a very tonal piece of music. So yes, the resting note, B flat. And so there's not a whole lot of time to breathe after the B flat. It's because they're always going to be an eighth note. But I would say, for the sake of just making the music sound good, sometimes we'll just have to breathe in a spot that might just throw off the phrase a little bit, just because it's completely necessary to do that. Not everybody knows how to circular breathe. And also, if you're playing in a section, it would be a time that you could stagger breathe and have it worked out with other people in your group, like who's going to breathe where. So I think that it would be okay to sneak in a little breath after the C, because that's the longest note value that we have in this piece. But just try not to let it throw off the time. If you do absolutely need to take a breath, The easiest time to do it would probably be after the B flat that's at the end of a phrase. So maybe at the end of the second line here. The C doesn't work very well to do it because it needs to resolve down to the B flat. So just sneak in a quick breath if you need to. Like that. And there's other situations where you might be able to stagger breathe it with your section. So on a longer note value, maybe you could get a breath in while the rest of your section is just playing. And as long as you guys are consistent with how you're doing that, it should work out just fine. Something else I'd like to point out is on study number 10 that's in F major, the Ferling study. You might have noticed that it sounds kind of weird in the fourth measure, and that is because there is a wrong note on the excerpt that you were given. If you were to look in the Ferling book, that is not written as a B natural for it's the first 16th note of the line. That's what's written in your excerpts, but it should be a B flat. So it's something that I will make sure that people are aware of, and I encourage you to play it with the B flat instead of the B natural. Thanks for watching. Again, I'm Zak Pischnotte, the saxophone instructor at Washburn University. Please feel free to reach out if you have any questions about the stuff I was talking about. I know there was a lot of material, and there's a lot more depth that we can go to on that. So you can also reach out if you'd like to meet for a lesson, whether it's over the internet or in person. And I'd also be happy to critique a recording if you'd like to send like an MP3 or something to me. So again, my email is going to be in the description. And happy practicing.